Adding and subtracting like terms. This is one of the fundamental things you'll need to know when working in algebra. And we'll have to decide first, what is a term? And a term is, or terms are, I should say, things that are joined together by pluses and minuses, basically. So 6x is a term, 4x is a term. In past videos, we've talked about how 6 is the coefficient and x is the variable. But really, all we need to notice is the thing that comes after the number, in this case x, is the same. When they are the same, and they have to be exactly the same. I'll show you some examples that are not the same in just a minute. Then you can add them. It's sort of like saying I have 6 boxes of cereal on a shelf, and I also have 4 boxes of cereal on the shelf. Well, if I just want to have a cereal shelf, I could combine them and say that I've got 10 boxes of cereal. Only X stands for boxes of cereal in this case. So here's an example of two terms, and they are not like terms. This has an X, and this has a Y. They have different variables. So we cannot combine them. We cannot do this. No. Wrong. 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 Do not do this. They have to be exactly the same. That's what we just did there is sort of like saying we had 5 boxes of cereal and 3 cans of soup and combine them to get 8 box cans of cereal soup. That doesn't make any sense. So this is not allowed. So the secret to this, when you have more than a couple of terms, is just to pay attention to the variable part and make sure they match exactly. So here we've got a 3x and a 4y. Those don't match at all. We've got an 8x. And so what we can do is rearrange these in an order that is a little bit more convenient for us. I'm just putting the x's together and I'm putting the y off by itself. I'm not mad at the y or anything. It doesn't have a friend. It doesn't have a match. So off it goes to the end. And now we have our 3x and our 8x together. 3x plus 8x makes 11x. And there's our 4y, lonely but standing proud at the end. Another quick example, 4 terms. That has a c as a variable, that has a d as a variable, that again has a c as a variable, that has a d as a variable. Well, let's just rearrange them. That has a c, and that has a c, that has a d, and that has a d, and I made this example fairly simple by making all of it addition, not including any negatives. But now it's much easier. I think I'll write on top here just to be different. 12c plus 4c. What's that? I can't hear you. Of course I can't hear you. It's a video. 16c plus 5d plus, so that's these terms. 5d plus 8d, 13d. Boom. The end. One thing you have to keep in mind is what counts as matching or like terms. These fellas, well, they may not be fellas, I don't know, but in any event, these two terms, they both have x's, but we can't combine them because this is x squared and this is x. They don't actually match. So, you know, the thing in front of a variable is called the coefficient. Everything that comes after the coefficient has to match exactly for the two terms to be able to be combined. And here's another example of unlike terms. Two terms, both have an x, but this one is an xy. This one is just x, so we cannot combine these. This is as simplified as we can make this expression. All right, here's one last example, and I want you to get in the habit of thinking about when you're talking about combining like terms, so you're adding or subtracting terms that are alike, I want you to think of the minuses and pluses as being the sign of the term that you are combining. And here's what I mean. Now, 8x squared, of course, there's nothing else with an x squared in it, so I'm not going to combine it with anything. It's just going to go over here and time out. And the same with our 3y here. Y, I don't know why y is always the lonely one in my examples, but it is. And so it was minus 5x. I'm going to think of this simply as a negative 5x plus 8x. All right, so 8x squared minus 5x, that was the first part of our expression. We think of that minus now as the sign that goes with the 5x. We add it to the 8x because they do have the same variable, and we get 3x. And so there's my 8x squared, there's my 3y, and then I'm just going to say plus 3x. If you find yourself having trouble with examples like this, odds are you might need to go back and review the rules of integers, adding and subtracting integers a little bit. I know calculators can do it for you, but when you know how to do it without a calculator, it makes things like this a lot easier.